Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Toon review on this rather splendid Thursday night. We were going to have a night off tonight, but of course, as you know, as Newcastle United fans, following this club is very, very difficult to even get a night off, especially when things like this kick off. First of all, Spike, I know you're in the chat. I received your package today. Thank you so much. There's stuff I can use in my studio background, and there's loads of stuff to give away as prizes. There's photos in there. There's mugs in there. It's absolutely incredible. So thank you so much, Spike, for sending me that. It is incredible generosity of the highest order. So thank you very much. But as usual, guys, if you do enjoy the show, hit that thumbs up button. And if you are new, why not come and subscribe? Join this amazing community on the Toon Review by hitting that subscribe button. And of course, it is free. And also, why not hit the notification bell as well, so you'll let you know when we upload any videos or schedule the lives. You can become a member of the Toon Review by hitting the join button underneath the two of us to support the channel that way. Or, of course, you can super chat with the $ at the bottom of the live comments, and that will guarantee your comment to be read out on the show. Right. We may as well get straight into it, Billy, because, well, I mean, look, this is going to drag on and drag on and drag on until something is done about it. We hope that the Manchester City court case will put an end to all this garbage, to be quite honest. But it's been broken that Newcastle and some other clubs in the Premier League need to sell before the 30th of June to abide by the financial restrictions. I think it's absolute bollocks, and you know it does set a lot of Newcastle fans up with a bit of worry, Billy, because we don't know how much it is that the deficit is. Some people say 20 million, some people say it's a lot more than that. But what it is a load of crap, and it's ruining football. Whatever way you look at it, it's ruining football, and the big boys again are getting a pass with this. Because if you look at we were just talking about before we went live there, Aston Villa, let's take them for instance, Champions League. All right, they want to strengthen their side to compete in the Champions League, which is where we were a year ago. Okay, they are unable to spend big money because of FFP. You look at Manchester United, who are almost £1 billion in debt, yet they go out and buy players. Where is the fairness? It's supposed to be financial fair play. It isn't. It's dealing with the big boys, as usual, number one again.
Well, team value, asset value, and all this stuff is kind of behind the Man United stuff. And to me, that's wrong. The Newcastle United one, again, is wrong because we have owners with bottomless pit of money and can afford to invest in their business as much as they want. And in any given business, in any kind of field, in the marketplace, whether it be, retail, manufacturing, whatever, you are allowed to invest in your business. It's only in football where you're not allowed to. And they do that to try and create what they see as a level playing field. But it isn't a level playing field, is it? Because there's teams that spend more than other teams and aren't falling foul of FFP. Doesn't make any sense to me. Newcastle United have a £52,000 capacity stadium.
Yep.
We sell thousands and thousands of shirts each year. We are now being punished for the criminal lack of investment that Mike Ashley did to the club. Cherry-picked what he wanted. No incoming kind of revenue from sponsorships and things like that. We're suffering for that. We're trying to behave like a big boy because we are a big boy in the pond. And we're being told we're not allowed to do that. It's just totally wrong. And the other clubs that have kind of fallen foul of it, two have already fallen foul of it already. Everton and Nottingham Forest. Leicester City have spent the season in the Championship, and they're coming straight back up to more kind of
possible points deduction. Yeah.
And then you've got Chelsea, who have spent, Lord knows how much they've spent, over £1 billion in the past two years on transfers, and they're going to get treated the same as us, who have, I think we get more people through the door than Chelsea. Okay, they may have more fans worldwide, but that's only a recent thing. They're going to get treated in the same manner as we are. That doesn't make sense to me.
No. John Adams, thank you very much for your super chat. How do Premier League know what club finances are? Surely that's a key part of a balance sheet. Finance rules suit the big clubs and anti-competitive and biased. Look, we know this happens. It happens all the time, and it's really starting to piss me off now, because I think it's completely spoiling the game that we love. You know, teams can't. You know, it takes the excitement away from a transfer window. You know, the transfer window's gone by. Under our previous ownership, we've dreaded for simple reasons, as we knew we weren't going to get anybody. But now we're in a very different boat. And we're still looking at the transfer window thinking, oh, God, you know, we just can't sign anybody. It's ridiculous. And then you see Chelsea just keep on buying and buying and buying. You see Manchester United heavily in debt. I mean, this financial fair play thing was set up to stop teams going into debt and going out of business. But Manchester United suddenly are being allowed to ramp up debt after debt after debt and still spend millions on players. Yet the likes of Newcastle, Villa and other clubs, we are stuck in the situation where we cannot spend anything or very little on trying to improve our squad, which means the league is not going to change because the big boys get it their way as usual and the other teams can't compete. And that's what it's all about. This was supposed to make it at least a decent level playing field, but it's just not happening like that now. And everybody can see it. It's basic cheating in my eyes. It's cheating. It's cheating the fans, and it's cheating this wonderful game that we all love. Mansouk, thank you for becoming a new member of the Toon Review. Welcome to the family.
Do you know what's ridiculous about it all?
Go on, yeah.
This is all got to be done by June the 31st, is it?
June the 30th. Yeah.
June the 30th. July the 1st, new accounts start again, where we receive our Champions League money, our sponsorship money. One day. I mean, come on. You're going to get 6 to 12 points taken off you for 24 hours.
But we would, Billy. You know damn well we would, because they'd love to do it.
There's a court case there. And Man City are kind of saying that the Premier League are corrupt by not allowing sponsorships, fair value sponsorships, when they've wanted sponsors, but they've been stopped. And this is why they're up in front of these 115 charges. Nothing to do with financial fair play. It's to do partly with it. It's to do with sponsorships and things like that. They think they should be able to sponsor their own club, and why shouldn't they? And this is why we should support. I think we are going to support them. I think the 6 that have been done are supporting Man City.
Yeah, I think it's come out in the last couple of hours that there's us and a couple of other clubs supporting Manchester City in this now, because originally Newcastle were taking a step back from this thing with Manchester City, but within the last couple of hours, it has broke that Newcastle United are one of a few clubs who are siding with Manchester City, which is great to see. Because look, the bottom line is Richard Masters, etc. They need. I mean, don't get me wrong, they need a foot up their arse, and more than a foot up their arse. I would love to sit in front of Richard Masters and grill the shit out of him about what the hell is going on, because nobody seems to ask him the decent questions. Nobody seems to ask him the questions that matter to the fans, and nobody seems to have the balls to ask him the questions. And, you know, somebody has to sit there and start questioning the Premier League about this bullshit now that we're seeing. We see it season after season after season with this cartel situation, and nothing is changing. The league is not changing to help other teams or make it more competitive. If anything, they are stretching the gap yet again because of the favoritism they are given to the cartel. And that's what it is. It's favoritism. They will have a say. They're frightened of losing them to a Super League. So they'll bend over backwards for them.
Except two of them are involved in this. So it's kind of narrowing the Super League down from 6 to 4. The 2 blue teams that are in this top 6 are now breaking away and going against the other 4. But we've known for a long time that Richard Masters, allegedly, that Richard Masters is in bed with Mr. Levy and Liverpool and Manchester United and Spurs and Arsenal. They're the big 4. Let's make no bones about it. The big 4. It's not a big 6. It's a big 4. And those 4 are joined together. They were the 4 that kind of really went against us getting the takeover. But you know what I'm saying?
You got a curry on the way, Billy.
I may well have one. But yeah, it's those 4 which were really vociferous against us getting our takeover. And ever since the sponsorship deals, the trading ground deals, things like that, they've always gone against us. Man City,
but it seems to be as soon
Chelsea.
as we want, but as soon as we want to do anything, Billy, that's what got me. Is since the takeover, when we've announced certain plans to do certain things with sponsorships or whatever it be, suddenly there's an urgent Premier League meeting and a vote of the Premier League teams.
Yes.
And not many of the Premier League teams dare go against the Cartel 4, which I'm calling them now, because it is the Cartel 4. None of these teams want to go against them to upset them, which is pathetic. If the Cartel don't like it, sod off and start another league somewhere and jog on and let us enjoy the Premier League with the other clubs that actually want to be there and have fair play in the Premier League. You know, not this overruling of 4 teams looking down on everybody else saying, right, we're the big boys. You just stick to doing your own thing. We create the rules. Bullshit. Time needs to change, and it needs to change now because, I mean, look, it doesn't matter how much the money is that we need to accumulate by the 30th of June, right? It could be 20 million. It could be 70. What the hell? It doesn't matter, right? What matters is we are still having to push somebody out the door that maybe we don't want to push out the door.
Exactly.
But we have to.
Exactly.
And look at what Bruno said earlier on today, Billy. Gareth Bascom, thank you, by the way, for your £2 super chat. No idea what's going on with Ashworth, mate. But you look at what Bruno said today, Billy. He came out and said that he loves playing for Newcastle United. He's contracted to Newcastle United. But then in the middle of that, I don't know what's going to happen with FFP. So even Bruno himself is aware that despite the fact he wants to stay at the club, that God forbid he maybe have to forced out to cope with this 30th of June nonsense.
Well, it could happen. But I'm guessing that someone like a Wilson or an Almiron out the door will get us back into the right place where we want to be. I don't think, because again, it's only for one day, isn't it? And then it starts again, and we can spend whatever we want to spend. And if we want to go over and above, well, then we can. But that's that one day. If we can get rid of a player before the June the 30th, then I think we'll be fine. And I think it's got to be a 15, 20 million pound player who gets in.
But the problem is, Billy, right? The problem is, what if nobody wants them players? You know, we're talking about Miggy and we're talking about Callum Wilson. You know, we spoke about this on the show the other night. You know, somebody may look at Callum Wilson's injury record and think, we're not taking a chance on him. We're not wanting to spend 20, 25 million on the Callum Wilson because he's hardly ever fit. And then they'll look at Miggy's form and think, well, where's the return going to be on a Miggy Almiron? You know,
it's actually worse than that. It's worse than that. The Premier League have kind of broadcast this out now. It then puts us at risk of being took the piss out of.
Exactly.
20 million, we'll give you 10.
Yeah.
How much for Wilson? 20 million, we'll give you 5. And you force us out if you want to avoid this points deduction. So what they've actually done by releasing this list is made it even harder.
I mean, look, it really is ridiculous. Luke, thank you for your super chat. Evening, chaps. So the important question, Paul, how's the new motor? Windows down and dire straits blasting on the way back. Well, listen, it's lovely, but I didn't have dire straits blasting. But Billy, the concern, right, is like you say, teams will take the piss, knowing that Newcastle United are desperate to sell players. Now, you look at the saleable assets we've got, which amounts to Miggy, Wilson. Is there anybody else there that you can put in the same bracket until they start looking? Trippier, yes. But even then, they could turn around and say, well, look at Trippier's age. We'll give you, what? We'll give you 4 million for him. You paid 12. He's older now. We'll give you 12. Mansuk, been a member for 2 months on the channel. Thank you, matey. Thank you to everyone at the Toon Review. You make GCSE revision so much more calmer. But why not bring in talented players from Saudi and let the cartel clubs have it? Well, I mean...
They tried to stop that, didn't they?
Exactly. Yeah. As soon as that was mentioned, that we were going to... I think it was... originally Ruben Neves, wasn't it, that we were linked? We were going for Ruben Neves, and then all of a sudden, no, you don't. We'll put a stop to that instantly. But I've got a real worry, Billy, that you are right about this. That other clubs are going to come in and take the piss because they know we're desperate to get players out the door.
Yeah.
But the players that we're desperate really to get out the door aren't going to cover the money that we need to make, and that then turns to our real assets. And that's the worry, because do we then just turn around and say, right, we haven't done it, we'll just take a points deduction next season, fuck them, and let's just get on with it.
We take a points deduction, now it's played. It's what Spurs want. It's what?
Well, of course it is.
Liverpool, Man United want, because it then puts us less of a chance of beating them in the league and getting Champions League places, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they want, really. They want us to lose 6. And I know it's all kind of, it's got to be done on the same playing field, but you can guarantee we'd get more than, say, at Everton or Forest, because they've already been punished for theirs.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen makes a really good point here. They are destroying the product they think they are protecting. Football will eventually die if this keeps going on. Corrupt, boring Premier League in real trouble. But again, we spoke about this a few weeks ago, Billy, if you remember, when we were talking about the Premier League as a product, right? That will suffer because there's only a certain amount of, 4 teams that can bring in the big names. We can't do it. Villa can't do it. Whoever else can't do it. Yeah. The Premier League suffers because then there's only 4 teams challenging every season. It turns into one of these leagues like it is overseas where there's nobody challenging and everything goes to pot. TV companies across the world think there's better leagues than the Premier League, guys. We can really sell, another league, and then away it goes. It's a vicious circle, and it's a circle that I don't think even Richard Masters has even considered happening because he's a monumental bell end.
We've seen it already, haven't we? We've seen it already. We've seen players going to the Saudi League, not players past the best, although some are, but young players going there for the vast amount of money that clubs in this country can't afford to spend because of these ridiculous rules. Simple as that.
Peter Dunn, thank you for your super chat. I've noticed a shift in the media actually backing Newcastle now and asking why the richest club in the world can't spend their money. Hello from Melbourne. Thank you, Peter. Look, people are going to start making sense of all this and see what's going on. People that have denied that there's been any corruption in the Premier League, people just thinking, oh, it's Newcastle fans twisting or it's other fans twisting. The people that don't see this going on are people like Manchester United fans. You listen to Mark Goldbridge, you listen to other Man United fans. They seem to be clueless. They are turning all their attentions onto Manchester City to try and deflect from what's really going on. They are billions or a billion in debt, whatever it may be, coming up, right? And yet they are turning a blind eye to this. They're just bothered about, what's happening with Dan Ashworth, what's happening with the manager, what's happening with players coming in. It's bullshit. And it's trying to... Well, exactly.
They should be worried about it because their debt is against their stadium, which probably was worth £1 billion at one time. But it ain't now, with holes in the roof and things like that. Mm-hmm. So they need to start worrying themselves about things like this because, their capital that's against the stadium, it's not there now, is it? It simply isn't. And they're going to have to get into some kind of budget to get players out the door and things. And who's going to buy their players? They're all overpriced and overpaid.
Yeah,
everything deep shit. They haven't thought this through at all. Man United.
But they never do, Billy. It's let's deflect it onto other clubs. Let's talk about other clubs to deflect away from ours. And it's the same across the other ones as well. Abs says they literally changed the rules specifically to punish us. It's completely corrupt. Alexander says, remember when Eddie was starting this narrative about the stranglehold of FFP? He was right from the beginning. Tom says, remember in the 90s when even mediocre Premier League teams could attract big players? Middlesbrough, for example, signing Juninho and Ravanelli. The league was immense back then. Couldn't agree more, Tom. Look, Middlesbrough signed all those players, and I think they still got relegated, didn't they? But they got to the FA Cup final. But you know what? It was brilliant football to watch. You never knew what was going to happen with teams like Middlesbrough, which Middlesbrough would turn up. And the Middlesbrough fans, I'm sure they would admit, they had a wonderful time buying all these players. Massive big names in the game of football. Juninho was a brilliant attraction. Ravanelli, Emerson, they signed some great players. It didn't work, but they signed some great players. And, at least there was a challenge from other teams or trying to challenge these big boys and giving it a go. But now we are completely strangled by this FFP law, and it is basically set out to protect the big four. It's so easy to see. Chippers, thank you for your super chat. Abramovich still has the money from the Chelsea takeover, money that was supposed to go to the Ukrainian families. Why is that not being mentioned? I don't know, Chippers, but we stay well clear of that. That's really nothing to do with us. So but I get your point, though.
What I will say is there's no way on God's earth in this day and age would the Blackburn story have happened.
Absolutely not.
There'd have been no entertainers. Because Newcastle United would have been able to invest in the Ferdinandes, Shearers,
Well, they couldn't. Look at our revenue would have been next to nothing if you look from 88 to 91, Billy. You know, absolutely not. 85 to 91, whichever way you want to look at it. We had no income.
So it's just ridiculous. The way they've kind of done this is ridiculous. I know UEFA have kind of put their system in for European teams, and I don't really believe that's right either. If I'm perfectly honest, if you've got the money to invest in your club, you should be allowed to spend it. If you haven't, tough shit.
I mean, the question now, Billy, is what happens next? I mean, is it a case now of, you know, everybody starting to back Manchester City in this court case, or is it a question of all the other Premier League teams now getting together and fighting back against the bigwigs at the Premier League, saying, look, we've had enough. This can't be sustained moving forward because it's destroying football. It's destroying the brand of the Premier League, and it's destroying it for the fans. You know, none of the fans can look forward to for transfer windows every now because we are more worried about who's going out the door than who's coming in. You know, it's a terrible feeling to have.
There's always been a certain amount of clubs that kind of bow and kowtow to. I'm going to call them the big four from now on.
The big four, yeah.
The bow and kowtow to them, and you know, get players from on loan and things like that, and players sold at a slightly inflated rate, and they creep round them. And in fact, Leicester City were one of them, and now they're in the shit. I mean, Leicester City the one that proposed about the stadium naming after they've done their own. You know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
On the back of what they've been told by other clubs, basically. They had no reason to do it themselves. So I think there's going to be a bit of a worm turn in here because I think teams are going to have to see for themselves that one day they might be in this kind of situation, and to kind of protect their own interests, they've got to back the teams that are making the most sense, and that's Man City's case, and we're going to be behind that. It's got to be stopped. Yeah. And whether it offends Liverpool, Manchester United, Arsenal, and Tottenham, so what? It's about time that it was fair.
Macca, I get your point, but I don't agree with this. Back when Middlesbrough signed those players in the Premier League wasn't anywhere near the best league in the world. The Premier League in the 90s was doing what the Saudi League is doing now. I don't agree with that. I just can't. The 90s and noughties of the Premier League were fantastic.
They were trying to make it the best in the world, but you know, there's no kind of rules, and some of the best players came in,
which is fair enough.
I thought it was great in 99.
We can't do that now.
No,
you know, it's either the big four or nothing. You know, and it's as if the Premier League are just turning around saying, right, there you go. It's the big four, and the rest of you can just jog on and, you know, have your own little mini league. Let's just concentrate on the big four being the big boys in the Premier League and basically fuck the rest of you. We don't care, because that's how it's coming across. And I don't think I'm wrong with saying that, because it just looks like that the Premier League bigwigs are just looking after who they need to look after, because they are worried that these clubs may well disappear into a Super League before too long. And for me, they can go and do it now. Those four teams can piss off now and go do a Super League, and English football get back to how it used to be. You know, sod them. We don't need this anymore. We just don't. And it's just strangling everything about this beautiful game. Dr. House, thank you for your super chat. Can't wait to see Tonali back. City broke the rules multiple times and they should be punished. Well, yeah, but it's not what we're talking about tonight. It's very, very different what they're being punished for.
What rules do they break, Dr. House? You don't know, do you?
Exactly. You don't know. So
it's not
FFP. It's got nothing to do with the FFP side of things, as far as I'm aware. However, it doesn't really matter. What we're talking about tonight is what happens next. How does football get back to what we know and love? Or will it ever get back to that stage again? Or is it just over for us as football fans? We have to now bow down to the cartel and the Premier League and just take it up the arse and just say that's the way it is, and you've got no choice on the matter.
You know, I've never understood how Spurs managed to get themselves into this top six. They haven't won anything for years, really. I know we haven't.
Yeah,
I know we haven't. But how they got involved? It's like me going into the Crucible and putting 20p on the table and saying, I'll play the winner when one of those Sutherland's playing against Mark Williams. It's ridiculous that they're involved in this. It shouldn't be about that. It shouldn't be about who creeps around the Premier League. It should be about whatever you've got to invest in your team, you can do. And let's make sure that all this money that they're supposed to be sending down to the grassroots does go down there. So then they can progress up the cycle. And then they can do the same thing themselves.
Well, how much do they actually send into the grassroots, Billy? Because we've never seen figures of what kind of money has been generated, what kind of money has been sent down to these, and what kind of money is staying with the people that we know the money's going to anyway. You know, but they'll never release anything like that. And I think, you know, back when we got the takeover, we as Newcastle United fans were demanding that the Premier League was looked into, demanding that, you know, certain figures were looked at. There's never been that kind of investigation into the Premier League. You know, we don't know what they're doing behind the scenes. We've got a good idea of what they're doing behind the scenes. But they will always come out and deny it, and nothing ever gets investigated.
Well, the clubs that have any kind of ambition need to kind of get on this Man City train. And I'm talking clubs like West Ham United, Crystal Palace, even to a lesser extent, Fulham, Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Yeah,
and they should, and so we get the 14 that we need to get this changed.
Fubar Steve says there is a report from the beginning of the year that states if FFP had increased with inflation, the allowable losses would now be 218 a year. It's a crap system and needs adjusting.
It is. I agree. I totally agree. It's still 105 million pounds a year, and with inflation as how it's been, and the market being how it's been, it should be way above that, and probably twice as much, like the post put there.
But that's the thing, Billy. They don't look at these things and change it as time moves on. They keep everything the same. They keep everything stagnant because they are. Look, the Premier League don't run the Premier League. It's the four teams. It's the big four now, as we call them. They are running the Premier League, and until that changes, nothing is going to happen. Nothing at all, because the Premier League will always bow down to these cartel clubs. Football Pranthens, thank you very much for your super chat. Your first ever on the Toon review. Thank you very much. Funny to see how Labour supporters are chill with Saudi ownership. Irony died 1,000 deaths. Petro money owners are the cartel.
We're talking football.
What a load of bollocks. We don't talk politics, mate. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Politics, skip. This is about football, and this is about the game that we as Newcastle United fans love. And we're not the thing is, Billy, we're not just ranting on about Newcastle United here. This is the rest of the Premier League. You know, this show, you know, we were, as I say, we were going to have a night off, but then a message and said, right, let's do this show because it's big news today, this. And, you know, we wanted to cover it and we wanted to get your guys' opinions on it as well. And the fact of the matter is, it's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit.
I think we know why that release clause is in for Bruno, and the date's concerned with it as well.
That's interesting, because obviously, you know, we've got till the 30th, and that's when the old release clause finishes, doesn't it? On the 30th, of course. I mean, like I said, this is about football fans, and this is about, you know, getting this game back to something that we can watch and we can know that isn't being sort of run by cartels or, you know, just total bullshit. We want football to be that game where people are fighting to get into the Premier League. And once they get into the Premier League, then as long as they have sustainable finances, they can spend what they need to give the Premier League a good go.
I'll tell you another corruption point. This is a massive one, this is. And Stato alluded to it last night or the night before. Selling players to Saudi Arabia. Casemiro, 85 million. Come on. Fabinho, 40 million. Players past the best and then getting more than what they paid for them and vastly inflated prices to help with their PSR. Yet when we sell one, we have to sell ours under price. Well, I mean, where's the fairness in that?
Well, the thing is, Billy, I'm starting to think that we maybe had to sell Maxi at that price to cover financial restrictions, because is it the same situation now that we were in when we had to sell Maxi and it was just kept quiet about Maxi, and it was just a deal is agreed to sell Maxi to Saudi, but nothing was said because, you know, Newcastle could have said, well, we had no choice. It's maybe it's exactly the same situation.
I mean, it was a bit later, wasn't it? It was because he played pre-season friendly. He played at Gateshead, didn't he? So I'm not sure it is. And then, of course, we brought Tonali and and Lewis Hall did, and Livramento and Lewis Hall we paid for now. So maybe the money we're paying for Lewis Hall now has got to be covered elsewhere. And we're obliged to do that because obviously Chelsea are in a deep doo-doo as well. So we can't renege on that. It's a league, you know, we've bought him. It's a nest of vipers, it really is.
It is. Simon says people are losing the plot. We want to win without breaking the rules, to be the example for others, and have a team full of Geordies. We are forgetting our principles. Simon, I think that's a pipe dream, mate. There's no way we're going to get a team full of Geordies. And what you're saying there is we want to win without breaking the rules. Yes, I agree. We do. However, you've got no chance. We have got no chance, just like the rest of the Premier League, of ever getting to win the Premier League, because we know that the Premier League, the gurus at the Premier League are not going to allow it. And it will upset the Big Four. And if the Big Four get upset, then the Premier League panic. And we've seen it time and time again. It's a load of codswallop. But, you know, a team full of Geordies, it's not going to happen, mate. No way.
But at least we would be inside the FFP rules because they wouldn't cost.
Well, we would be, yeah. But it's just not going to happen. I mean, you know, it's just who are we going to sell? Because you mentioned before, you know, teams will come in and take the piss, and then we haven't raised enough money by the 30th of June because teams just aren't going to pay the money that we think maybe that those players are worth. And then it comes to the Bruno release clause. It then comes to Isak. It then comes to Anthony Gordon, some real assets in the team. Or, like I say, I mean, do we just sit back and I mean, we've got to do something, because I don't think the owners will want a points deduction or anything like that, because I don't trust anyway that if we did get into trouble on financial fair play, Billy, that it wouldn't just be a points deduction. I think they throw the book at us because of who we are and who we're owned by.
No, they couldn't. Because obviously you got to treat clubs the same. You couldn't give us a 12-point deduction and another team was 2 or 3. But
do you not think they'd try, Billy?
I think Forest and Everton would get less because they've already been done for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Chelsea and us would have to be treated the same, surely, because there's legal issues there. There has to be.
Billy, would you like to explain to Albertuga who the Cartel 4 are?
Arsenal, Spurs, Liverpool, Manchester United. They're the Cartel 4. They're the ones getting away with murder. They're the ones that VAR seem to kind of help week in, week out as well. It's all connected. It's all connected.
I mean, Robert's saying there, Robert Guyver's saying there that Casemiro's only worth 15 to 20 million at a push. We know that. We know that. However, 85 to 100, I think, has been what's been described as a possible move to Saudi. That stinks of complete and utter corruption, if I've ever seen it. And it's just typical. It's just typical.
We got 40 for Fabinho last year. I thought that was bad enough, but this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It really is.
I mean, where do we go, Billy? What's the solution?
We either break the rules and try and win something without taking the points deduction into account. That's one way around it. But it
what the hell? Shit. Cartel is not 4 clubs. Come on, check it before you talk.
It's
Kenny,
4 clubs, mate.
We've seen it. We see it day in, day out. Of course, we know what we're talking about.
You think it's 6 because you think
it's
Man City and Chelsea are involved. Chelsea are in the same boat as we are, and Man City are the pallbearers for us at the minute.
It's those 4 teams that are pushing for changes to help themselves all the time. Whether you agree with what Chelsea is spending, Chelsea do not get involved much in stuff, barking out orders to the Premier League. Chelsea don't do that, and neither do Manchester City. Now, whatever you think of Manchester City with the 115 charges, that is completely separate. That's not what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about the FFP rules and where it puts teams like Newcastle United, poor Aston Villa, going in the Champions League, haven't been in the Champions League for years on end. They've got a big opportunity this season, same boat as we were in last season, and they just cannot strengthen the squad. Where is the fairness in that?
There's talk of them having to sell a Douglas Luiz or Ollie Watkins or whoever.
They've got to sell one of the big boys to cover so they don't get done. So where is the fairness in that? And then you see teams like Manchester United, who are millions in debt, spending money on players. How is that allowed? That's what you need to ask yourself. I'm not talking about what revenue is coming in. for me, that's a load of bollocks. We and other clubs should be allowed to try and at least give it a go. At least give it a go. And fans of other teams cannot get excited because we just don't know what's going to happen. James, I know Chelsea spent 780 million quid last window, but let's face it, they've had a fantastic revenue stream for a long time, right? They've built up a fabulous revenue stream over the years.
They had the laws changed to suit them as well. I mean, they had their FFP ceiling wiped away the debt when Abramovich had to leave.
Yeah, so they got lucky with that.
They've had it lucky, to be fair to them. But now they're on the wrong side of it. They don't like it.
Looney Tunes says, I'm glad Stato isn't here tonight. He would be too sensible and stop us all ranting. He wouldn't, because he's as pissed off with FFP as we are.
And I think January, I think we saw signs of it when the club, we don't know this for sure, but it was strange how the Trippiers, the Wilsons and the Almirons were kind of put on a plate for people to take away then. I think they knew then. And Eddie Howe kind of stopped the Wilson one, didn't he? And the Almiron didn't want to go. And Trippier was pulled back at the last minute. So I don't know if Eddie Howe's on board with this FFP stuff or not.
It's very hard to tell, isn't it? It's very hard to tell. And we will not know what goes on behind the scenes. It's as simple as that. Niall, thank you for your membership for 11 months. He says, why are PIF helping the cartel clubs by buying the players for Saudi?
It's a strange one, isn't it? It's a strange one. It is a strange one. Although you've got to remember that there is Saudi investment in Manchester United.
Tristan says that Chelsea... Let's have a look. Chelsea income is 400 million. They don't have a shirt sponsor for 2 years. No Europe. They're in big trouble. Well, maybe they are. Maybe they are. But what I'm saying is they don't dictate how the Premier League is run. They might be in trouble themselves, right? But they are not like a Manchester United, a Tottenham, a Liverpool going and crying to the Premier League all the time thinking, this is how it should be done. This is how we want it done. Not this is how it should be done. This is what we want. And that's never going to change unless the rest of the league fights back now against this absolute bollocks. Michael says, look, we've got two choices. We either dance to masters, sell our best, and flush over 2 seasons of progress, or risk the points. Don't forget, we'll be much stronger this coming season. I know, Billy, but I just tend to worry how the things aren't the same when they decide to punish Newcastle as what they would to punish other clubs. And I know they've kind of got to show the same sort of thing, but you know what they're like. You know what they're like. And we said since the takeover that the Premier League will be looking for everything they possibly can to throw at Newcastle. If we even step over the mark by a couple of centimetres, they will be on us. And that's my worry. And let's not forget, if we did break financial fair play rules, you are guaranteed that those other 4 clubs will be on top of the Premier League, pushing for the maximum of whatever it could be, because they know how much Newcastle are going to be in danger.
I think it's not just us. I think Villa as well. I think Villa are in the same boat. They hate the fact that Villa have got a Champions League place.
Yeah,
they hate it. They can't stand it because they're not part of the party, are they? They weren't invited. They've gate crashed it like we did last season. So they'll be trying to get Villa weakened as well. No doubt about it.
Alicia saying that if that's the case, Paul, then we should be taking the Premier League to court. Well, Man City are doing it. That's why Newcastle are on board with Manchester City with what they're doing here. It doesn't need another club to take them. As long as the Manchester City have the backing from other teams, we're on board with it. Rowley, good evening. He says, this makes the trip to Australia make sense. We don't know how much we need. I'm almost at the stage of thinking, take the points deduction and to hell with it. I mean, I can't disagree with that.
Maybe the only way around it.
Kenny says, look at this. Kenny says, crying, come on, Paul, you're better than that. You talk about things you didn't know anything about. Kenny, sod off. If that's what you think, go and watch another channel. Simple as that. I don't care. I do know what I'm talking about. So quite clearly you don't. But, your opinion, just go and watch somebody else. If you can't get a sensible conversation and actually talk about it with other fans like we are doing, then don't bloody watch. Jesus Christ. Firestarter says, That was my first thought, that by releasing the PSR statement today has forced the club to devalue their players. It's a cartel in breach of competition law.
I agree. Totally agree.
Now, Kenny, are you going to accuse, that comment there of not knowing what they're talking about? We can see with our own eyes. We've been dealing with it for too long now. Lee says their guys is Ryan Fraser finally going to leave Newcastle United.
Not for £28 million.
We're not going to get an awful lot. We're not going to get an awful lot.
Although you can amortise it, can't you? So if we get 5, it then becomes 15.
Yeah, if we think that's what's right.
If we are 75 million out, I'm going to guess it's 25 because they amortise it, don't they?
Yeah, I suppose. Now, something different. Of course, the new shirts come out tomorrow, Billy, and there is a lot of dissatisfaction about the price because the price of the replica shirt is going to be apparently £80, and the pro one 120. What's your thoughts?
You have to pay for quality, and Adidas is quality.
Well,
simple as that. Simple as that.
I mean, is that not slightly the Billy Tray that hates Castone? Just Adidas is the B. I mean, I don't know whether you've seen the training stuff come out today, Billy.
Fantastic, lovely stuff. It really is.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the days when the game was for the working class person have well gone. You've got to be you got to be earning a big wedge. And if you've got 2 or 3 children that all want the shirts, you're spending a pretty penny to kind of kick yourselves out in it, aren't you?
Absolutely. Fubar says, ignore Kenny Paul. He's clearly bored after completing Pornhub, and is grumpy that he has nothing else to watch. Quite clearly, yeah.
I think Kenny and Terry Thomas are trolls, if I'm perfectly honest.
Yeah. Paul, if someone doesn't agree with you, you don't have to raise it and tell them to leave the channel. It's just toxic. Try to be friendly. I will be friendly if people are friendly with me. How weird, man. It's not an opinion telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about. That's just ridiculous. Of course, the new website is there as well, Billy, and that's had mixed reactions as well.
I've not seen the website yet. I shall have a look afterwards.
Well, they've done away with NUFC TV as well, so I don't know what's going to happen with that in the future. There's big changes on there. But listen, there was only a few months back we were saying that we needed a complete revamp of the website and things to get better. Retro Andy says it's class.
We needed this last week, didn't we, when we were doing the Australian tour, and the streaming for that second game was ridiculous, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was poor. It was poor. But look, hopefully, I mean, this is what we want. Niall says it's easier to use as well. So it has to become easier to use, because that was one of the main problems of the website. It was poor. It was poorly done. It was poor to navigate. And look how many times people, I remember back to the Carabao Cup final, Billy, where Michael Marsden missed out on a ticket because he kept on going to pay, and it refused, to the point where he went to the box office and they still couldn't sort it out. So, it was
the last vestige of the Ashley era to go, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was still Mike Ashley orientated.
As
the Castori deal was. I'm sure he's got shares in them. I'm sure he has.
Yeah. Basil Brush says, we have spent time putting our team in place to sell just for this. Take the points deduction. They threaten anything legal. We are in a better position to win, as management and owners aren't afraid. Indeed. And thank you again for the offer to take me to get my new car today. That was very, very kind of you. Really, really generous. Thank you so much for that. Anthony says, for the club to do more things both on and off the pitch, then we have to support with shirt sales.
Agree.
Yeah, it's a generating revenue, absolutely. Kath says, if Casemiro's fetching 80 million, Miggy should be worth. Yeah, look, it's bonkers. It's bonkers. It's right in front of everybody's eyes.
I mean, it's actually working in the opposite way to what it should work, because we can't sell our players for market value. Even, I mean, you can't tell me Maxi's not worth more than £25 million, because he is. He was then and he is now. And then they're getting that kind of money for Fabinho, 40 million. How can Fabinho be worth more than Maxi? A 33-year-old defensive midfielder against a flair player like Maxi. And it's because we have Saudi owners. And the Premier League have not allowed you to do that. But anyone else can do it. Just teams with Saudi Arabian owners can't do it.
Yeah.
What is it?
Indeed. Geordie Dan, thank you very much for your super chat. There's no comment there, but thank you very, very much. Oh, I went a bit fuzzy on YouTube there because my internet dropped for a minute, but it's back. Abs comes up with an excellent point here, and I never thought I'd agree with Abs on so many points that she's made tonight. It's incredible. Clubs can actually hold other clubs to ransom because of how FFP works. It's positively feudal. You cannot argue with that point.
It's bang on. It's bang on. But the pyramid of football, that triangle that we're told about, none of it's going down to the bottom, so they can then progress up the triangle and then become competitive themselves. And the reason why that is because they don't want it to happen. They want that top 1% to remain the top 1% ad infinitum. Simple as that.
Right. Well, before we go, Billy, I'm going to ask you one question, right? And by the 30th of June, who will Newcastle United have sold?
I'm on.
Interesting. You know what? This is going to be mixed, but I think Joe Willock.
He's injured. It's hard to sell someone who's injured.
Well, is he injured now? We don't know. He could be fit now. But look, I don't want it to turn to Bruno, and I certainly don't want to turn it to Isak and having to sell those type of players. But I do think that, and I also don't want to lose, 3 or 4 players because of this, Billy, with other teams taking the piss, knowing we need to sell. Normal days we could look at maybe selling Wilson for 20, Almiron 25, 30 maybe. But like you say, teams will come in and take the piss, knowing we need to generate the revenue and put us in the shit.
We've got to make a massive profit on whoever we sell. But those who were bought more than 3 years ago, it's not so much that's so important. So, I'm thinking I'm on a Wilson, them kind of players.
Yeah. By the way, Kenny has just become a member of the Toon Review. So thank you very much, Kenny. See, it goes to show, even if you disagree, you can all move on. I actually like that from Kenny. Thank you very much, Kenny. Welcome to Members Club. Kieran says nothing to do with football, but I think that Mark Goldbridge channel is full of kids acting like they're grown-ups and believe in him, which is why he has so many subs. Look, I'm not saying against Goldbridge. I quite like the guy. I don't agree with him a lot of the time, but look, I really I admire what he's done. Starting that channel and making it what it is. We all aspire to doing that, including ourselves. Let's be honest.
Can I put a comment up here?
Yeah.
And I'm going to comment on it. Small Club says Justin. Well, if your name's Justin, we know what's small about you, pal.
Justin. Alexander, thank you for your super chat. I did get your message, by the way. I will be replying to you very soon. We're getting to a point that trades are going to have to be part of the deal versus straight buying. By the way, Paul, I sent an email for the medical part. I got it, matey. Don't worry. I will be replying. I've just been extremely busy. Thank you so much. Look, when do we start looking at that? It happens in American sports a lot. I know people, poo-poo American sports a lot with the way they handle transfers. It's very much done over trades and not money. But, we're certainly not getting you very rarely see in American sports the crap that's going on with football right now in the Premier League. Looney Tunes says selling is fine, but we don't want to sell the core of the team.
That's what the so-called cartel want.
That's exactly what they want. And that's what we have to, I don't know, somehow fight against. But there it is, guys. That's the show tonight. Obviously, we weren't going to come on tonight, but we saw that news earlier on and thought, right, well, let's discuss it with you guys. 99% of you have been absolutely fantastic in the chat tonight with your different opinions and ideas and things like that. Some people I don't agree with. I'll say that I don't agree with. I don't like being told that I don't know what I'm talking about. I will fight back when people say that. But you know what it is? Everybody's entitled to an opinion. And as Kenny's joined the membership as well, that just goes to show that obviously Kenny's a decent guy. But listen, thank you very much for tuning in tonight. Thank you so much for your super chats and your memberships. Mods, thank you. And of course, Billy, thank you. But again, you lot out there, over 1,100 watching tonight on a show that was just basically put up an hour and a half ago, scheduled. Yous are awesome. And I cannot thank you from the bottom of my heart enough for you guys. Keep coming back. Got a late super chat in from Geordie Dan. The people disagreeing sound like Cartel fans. Tell them to do one. The time is now to take a stand. Fire up the PIF lawyer super team. That's fighting talk to end the night on. Absolutely. But listen, guys, thank you very much. We are back tomorrow. There will be a new show, but there will be, of course, Match Day Live tomorrow night as England are back in action again at Wembley. It's Iceland, isn't it, that they're playing tomorrow night in the build-up to the Euros. So join us for the live commentary of that. But in the meantime, enjoy your rest of your Thursday night, guys, and take care.
Away the lads and lasses.
Come back and check out some green.